Hello friends, welcome back for another part of our walkthrough of Oxygen Not Included Spaced Out DLC. For those of you that are very observant, you might notice, wait a minute, we've already passed this cycle before, and that is true. Trying something where I'm like filming two different videos at the same time chronologically just because there's going to be a lot of idling on some of your asteroids and I'd really rather not have them just sitting there forever. Yeah, this video is coming out immediately after we have already colonized the slime asteroid, but it's technically occurring at the same time. But rather than like switching back and forth between the two of them, like mid-video, I'd rather just create different subject matters for different ones. So yeah, kind of going back in time a little bit to do this one, but let's take care of this. This one, we're going to be talking about doing some mining out on these other asteroids. I did mention a concern that I had, which is, let me reopen these. A concern that I have is not having enough resources to settle on some of these other asteroids over time, and needing to go on some mining missions. So that's what we're going to do now. More specifically, we're going to mine out a couple of different places. We can kind of explore around depending on what we want or what we need. Algae may be something that we want, but we're about to get a whole bunch from the slime asteroid, so I'm not as worried about that. But the biggest one I am worried about is getting some more metal ore. So we can kind of check around some of the nearby ones and see what they have. So there's some copper here. There's refined gold here. That doesn't really do much for us. Wolframite, there's a ton here. So this is probably where we want to go to get a whole bunch of metal. But the problem is, once you get to these further out asteroids, it's so far away that you're going to need some pretty advanced fuel to actually get there, and this was part of the reason that we started liquefying our hydrogen in some earlier videos, so we have a lot of it to go around now. By the way, I'm going to stop the oxygen liquefaction here, because we have a silly amount of liquid oxygen right now. We will probably never use this, because there is so much, so I'm just going to turn that off. And the liquid hydrogen, we can keep going, but this is already a lot. So let's get a rocket built out for that. That's just going to be for mining that distant asteroid, which is not something we've done before. And we may do a couple other things in this video, depending on how long this all takes, but I'm not 100% sure. So anyway, let's start a hydrogen rocket. By this point in the game, all of my research is done, so there is nothing left to research. And one of the later ones is these hydrogen engines and the liquid oxygen tank. So I'm just going to build it on this left one, because the right one I'm still using for my exploration rocket. And I don't want to accidentally fill it with petroleum when I mean to fill it with hydrogen. So there's no pipes that should be a problem here, unless this water is going to be in the way, which I don't think so. This water is actually like not even getting any water to it now, because I'm filling this up a little bit more with more steam. Probably turn this off, actually. Alright, anyway, let's build out our hydrogen rocket. So, just need a hydrogen engine, and then we are also going to need some large fuel tanks, but these ladders are going to be in the way, so we gotta move those. Slightly different rocket here than the colonization rockets, even though it is the colonization platform. The other part of going out and mining is, this is why I left some space and left a solid rocket port unloader in between them. Because everything that I get back from this, I want to ship to my central location with all my other supplies. So, yeah. Alright, now that they've cleared that out of the way, let's get some liquid fuel tanks here. These hydrogen rockets can be pretty tall. The other thing, too, is one of these liquid oxidizer tanks will be plenty for all of the hydrogen that's going to be in these two. Then on top of that, it's really just whatever you would need to go mining for a while. So Spacefarer module is going to be something that we want, and then on top of that is going to be the typical, like, batteries to keep everything powered. Sorry. Let's get a few more of these solar panel modules on here, so we can charge our batteries. Then at the very top, we need to put a new module on that we've never done before. At least not at this run. We need a drill cone. So I'm going to put that on top, which is what you need to actually mine stuff. We're still missing one thing, though, and that is that when we are taking cargo with us, or rather bringing cargo back, we need a cargo tank for that. So this is something that I don't believe there is a way to refill your drill clone while you're already out there. So to me, I've never really understood the point of the large cargo bay because you can't fill it up before your drill cone runs out of diamond. So, I don't know. I've always just done this, and this is what I thought the limitations were, but unless there's something I don't know, let me know if you know more about this. But as far as I know, all you need to do is provide some diamond to your drill cone. And if you haven't already shipped yourself all of your diamond from the other asteroid, this is the second asteroid where all the oil is, by the way. There's a lot of diamond down in this biome, and I have not shipped all mine back, so we might as well do that now. This is going to be filed under miscellaneous whenever we get there, after the game stops freezing. So I need to keep some food here for just a little bit. Where is it? Come on, miscellaneous. I know how to spell. There we go. Send all of our diamond back. I'm going to stop sending food back, by the way. These are the random little things you'll probably have to do while you're bouncing around between asteroids, but yeah, so here's our especially distant mining rocket. The capacity that are going to be on these tanks is 900 kilograms. This one holds about 450, but it oxidizes at an extremely good efficiency, so I need to double check this. I'm pretty sure you only need one. But I never remember like the math and everything between different builds, so kind of just have to remind myself of it. Now, to actually fill these two things up, what we're going to need is... I need to actually clear these a little bit. This is my water that usually goes into these. Why is this not flowing up here? Oh, I guess nothing's actually asking for it, so that's probably why. So I guess we'll rehook this up to get our water flowing back in here. The interior of this, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about, because this is basically the same as the exploration rocket. There's only a reason to take one duplicate with you, and we don't even really need orbital data collection labs anymore, so I'm just going to deconstruct this for Trivaldo, actually. So it'll basically be the same as this, except you're going to... I mean, you could put in, like, a washroom and stuff like that to help out. And I'll also get idleness warnings if there's nothing to do on these exploration rockets, which means I probably... Oh, Trivaldo's already heading back anyway. But, anyway, I'm really rambling. So yeah, the interior of this is basically going to be the same thing as the exploration rocket. Just one duplicate needs to live out there. You don't need to take multiple. All we need is just a duplicate that can live in there for long enough. As far as cargo tanks, or cargo bay stuff, you don't want to load it up with a lot of, like, with anything really. This is just to bring stuff back from the actual asteroid you're going to mine. And then your solid rocket port unloader, you probably want to build the wire out of something that can resist all of the heat that this is going to be delivering. So if we had more wolframite, I would do that. Let me see here. Yeah, we probably should refine some more wolframite into tungsten, because that's kind of our best bet. So I'm just going to create a quick job for this. We might need to advance time a little bit to get that caught up. The last things we really need are to fill up our tanks. So we want to go back to our ceramic for all of the piping up here. And we can reopen this because this is all basically a vacuum. There's a pump in here, whatever. We can jump back in here to start building these pipes out once again, which I should have done the first time around, but I did not remember. So yeah, just going to kind of run our oxygen lines up here. Oh, let me lock this so that they have to go in from the bottom instead of the top. So here's our liquid oxygen. Just going to run straight into the tank here. Just do something like that. The other thing to think about too is, and this has always been a weird thing for me, when you actually send it out in these lines, you don't want it to sit in the lines because it'll constantly damage it by the liquid turning back into a gas. So I just try to watch it manually, and then any excess that I get, you could like restore it in a tank or something like that, but that can also be a little bit of a challenge in terms of maintaining the temperature. Another thing you could do is you could run it back to your setup and actually have a drain to send it back here. I don't have a great solution for this. The other thing we could do is, I was just saying we could probably, yeah, I don't know. I guess we could put it in a reservoir or something like that, but I'm nervous that it will heat it up too much to the point that it will cause more problem than it's worth. I don't know. let's just keep an eye on it and we'll watch it manually for now, and I'll think about a solution for that. I haven't really seen many good setups for something like this. So yeah, so we've got our ceramic pipes running here. We're going to get it all hooked up. We'll get the rocket all fueled. The interior all build out, which we've done before plenty of times with the exploration rocket, so no real reason to worry too much about that. Forgot to turn off my shipping systems here. We're just kind of like dumping a bunch of stuff that we don't really need to have here. I guess I could reopen that. Alright, so yeah, we're going to get all this stuff set up. No reason to watch it too much, and we'll get this on the way. Okay, been using the old noodle to think about how to store any excess liquid oxygen or hydrogen that comes down this line. What we can do is we can create liquid reservoirs and just stick them in a room that we vacuum out. That will assure that as long as it's sitting in this room, it's not exchanging temperature with anything, which means that it should be totally good to sit in there and not break pipes and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's going to be the solution that I go with. So all I'm going to do is once it passes through this, meaning that this tank is entirely full, there's no more that could actually go in there, I'm just going to send it into a reservoir. And this reservoir, I have a pump in here, I have a switch that's going to turn this on and off. We can just turn it off when this whole thing is vacuumed out. Or we can honestly just keep it on, just in case any other gas leaks or something like that. But yeah, so it'll only flow into there once the tank is full. And if we had some more automation down here, we could do something other than doing it manually. But like I said, I'm not really that... I guess I don't really care that much because we have plenty of fuel. But it does feel wasteful to not have a great way of dealing with this. So yeah, I'm just going to forward any of the stuff that would bypass these tanks and go into a liquid reservoir and just kind of have it sit there. We will talk about how to get it back on these lines. Actually, let's just do that now. So the liquid oxygen, I'm not going to hook into the tank because I don't want it sitting in these lines at all. When I want to re-hook it up, I will just hook it back up by drawing a... Oh, hello, Trevarlo. By drawing a pipe here, I'll already have a pipe that's like built on top of it. I can just play songs. I'll already have a pipe that's built on top of it, but I'll leave it disconnected until it's time to reconnect it and empty the contents back out into the line. Then we can send it back over here and just use like our typical plumbing tricks to get what we need out of this. So just gonna kind of send it over like that. And then we need to cross this, but I want it to stop the flow from the other side if I do have this hooked back up. I guess it would be on me to make sure that all this stuff was flowing correctly, so never mind. Let's just do it the more simple way, because this is already pretty complicated as is. So, for the liquid hydrogen, I'm just going to have it come back here and join up back into the line like that. They might have a hard time reaching these pipes in here, so if that's the case, then I can show you some little tricks to get that done. Kind of annoying that you can't reach the middle tiles on these. Yeah, that kind of bothers me. I think you should be able to reach on both sides, or have your duplicants like walk on some of these modules, but we're just gonna have to flip these around a little bit until we get what we want. Anyway, that'll be the solution for any of the runoff for any of the liquid hydrogen and oxygen, so yeah, just wanted to talk about that because I usually would just dump this out into space, but that feels very wasteful considering how much we've invested in it now that I'm getting another look at it, so yeah, we'll roll with that. Okay, small little adjustment to this setup. One of the problems I was noticing is that on our old setup, we were going to have some liquid reservoirs right here, and one tile that was going to be, or sorry, one little piece of pipe that was going to be disconnected to stop the flow from here. The problem with that is that there still will be material in this pipe sometimes, so one way we can prevent that is we can just build these on top of some mechanized airlocks. And then we can run some automation wire here, which will effectively allow it to flow back out of the tank. This is a good way to do this because the liquid reservoirs can still be filled up when they're on top of an open door, but they can't empty when they're on top of an open door. So that's a way we could have like a one-way liquid reservoir, and we won't have to mess around with reconnecting and disconnecting pipes and stuff like that. So yeah, just gonna kind of bump it up a little bit, set it up there. Once that gets done, I'll start vacuuming this room out. We still need to build the interior of the rocket. And I'm also going to show you how to get these annoying little pieces of tile, or rather pipe, built over here. Because this is like something that kind of bothers me. Like you can't get, sorry, from the prior video, someone from the past is bothering us. Let me check on this really quickly, actually. Nah, they're fine. Okay. So, the way that we can deal with this is we can just change the order of all of our add-ons, which we'll wait for this to move. Once we move the order, then that'll give us enough space to like build a ladder that's close enough to reach these jobs. We will have to destroy the ladder afterward, but unfortunately this is something that you have to do sometimes so you can reach these inner panels. So I'm going to use that trick to just kind of build the middle of these insulated pipes here, just to get all of them done. I just wanted to show that before we went there. Then I'll move my cargo bay all the way back up to where it was before so that all the tanks sit back in their right positions, so that they get filled by the oxygen and the hydrogen and stuff like that. So yeah, just going to kind of keep on going on this one. Build out the interior. We'll be launching here in just a minute, but we'll need to fuel it first, and I'll show you how to do that. Alright, looks like that one ladder was enough to actually reach all the other pipes. So our pipes are all hooked up. This one's just running from the oxygen, this one's running from the hydrogen, and any spillover from this is just going to go into our tanks that we have over on the other side. So let's get this all rearranged correctly, and let's get our tanks filled so that we can move closer to getting out of here. I don't have the interior done yet, but we will get that before we launch, obviously, because we need to go mine. Yeah, so let me slide this back up in the right position. Which really, as long as the bottom is just like engine, fuel tank, oxidizer tank, we should be fine. But I'm just going to put it back to where it was before. There we go. Alright, so let's fill up these tanks really quickly. We also need to vacuum this room out, so let me get this sealed before we turn everything on. But it's going to take a little while to fuel it anyway, so I'm just going to turn on the pumps so that we can watch this going. You may get some breakage on the lines here. Even though it is ceramic, it will do a pretty good job of keeping this insulated, but it doesn't do everything perfectly. So we may get a little bit of spillover. Start vacuuming this room out. So there we go. I'm going to try to just keep an eye on this while this is fueling up and make my best guess as far as when this is going to be filled, because I'd rather not have to use these tanks. So let me just turn off my oxygen pump here because we're pretty much done with that. Let's see how much that fills up. And we can watch to see if there's any spillover that's going to go into the tanks here. Okay, there is spillover coming into the tanks. So I want to open up the airlock below this so that none of it flows anymore. It should just go into the tank, and now that the airlock is entirely open, none of it should flow back out. So now that we have all of it in our tanks here, the next time we're ready to refuel, I'm going to allow these things to flow out first, and then I'm going to turn these pumps on down here again. So kind of a simple way to solve it, I guess. Kind of a goofy way to do it, but with these mechanized airlocks, there's a lot of things you can do to basically disable buildings and not let them do something. For benefit of, like, ways that we wouldn't really have tools to solve this otherwise. Otherwise, we would get ceramic pipes or something like that that was constantly getting broken. The other thing we could do is we could make some insulated pipes out of something that's called insulation, which literally has no heat transfer ever. But that's like, I don't know, why do that? If you could do something like this, it's pretty cheap. So there you go. That ought to be a good storage area for us. So now that we've got this all fueled up, let me build out the interior and we'll be on our way. Alright, interior of our mining rocket is basically done. Let's run through our checklist here really quickly. We have algae, we have food, so a duplicant can just kind of live out here for a long time. We do have water that is flowing into our bathrooms, so our duplicant can use it. And the rooms that we want our duplicant to use are both labeled as such, so we should be good to go. So yeah, now we just need to find somebody to actually take on this, and they're going to be my permanent, like, mining rocket driver person. So we're going to do that. Let's figure out who we can take away from this without really losing much. And I don't think Nisbet in particular is very specialized for this colony, so I think taking her is fine. We'll go ahead and just give a rocket at piloting there. Let's remember to label Nisbet as well, so there we go. Mining. Alright. And then we just need to assign Nisbet to the crew and get her on out of here. By the way, this is going to be the hottest rocket by far. So if any of this stuff is made out of anything that can be melted, you're going to know about it here pretty quickly. This is why I've always advised to make stuff out of obsidian, tungsten, and I guess wolframite if you have anything that's like just a single metal, like regular metal ore door or anything like that. Our shipping rails are also going to need to be made out of something like that, which we don't quite have yet, but we'll worry about getting that all connected up when the rocket gets back. But I guess just to demonstrate that it's not going to be damaged in any way, what we can do... let me think about this for a second. We should probably have a way to heat or cool whatever we mine, because it could be very hot or very cold. So I kind of want to build a setup that runs down into the steam that we have down here, just in case it's too hot. Probably not very likely that it's going to be, but just in case it is, we'll kind of run it through the steam like that. And do a terrible job of drawing straight lines and connecting stuff. That's just part of the build, you know? Then we can just run it straight down into our cooling tank down here, and just kind of snake it back and forth, and then it'll come out at a reasonable temperature. You could put the extra automation and stuff like that on if you want to make sure stuff isn't coming out of here being too hot or too cold. I'm not that worried as long as it can run through here. It should cool down a majority of things we're getting. And it really should be mostly like metal and algae, and those things are typically pretty easy to cool. So once that's done, we can just kind of hook it up to the line that's going to send everything back to the center, and yeah, that'll be pretty much it. So duplicants will be busy building that in the meantime. Let's get Nisbet out of here after we choose our destination. And I was saying we really want wolframite, so let's go ahead and grab that. And by the way, you can see the range on these hydrogen rockets. They are ridiculous. So you really can go anywhere you want with this type of rocket. This is also good for grabbing artifacts, which actually we should add that. Let me see what kind of height we have. Okay, we have space for 2 artifacts. Let's grab those too. So I'm just going to put a couple of artifact transport modules here. And the reason that I want these is because that is part of the requirements of quote-unquote finishing the game. We might not get all of them with this type of rocket, because I do want to focus mostly on mining with this thing. It also might be more economical to get these artifacts from asteroids that are closer to those little points of interest, so we might have a separate point where we do stuff like that. Not quite sure yet, but once we get these built, I'll send Nisbet on the way here, and I guess I just thought of this at the last minute, so my bad for delaying this, but shouldn't be too awful to get this all set up. Yeah, so I'm just going to send Nisbet out to the asteroid to get us some more wolframite, just so we can keep up our materials that we're going to need to send for our next colonization mission. So yeah, alright, we should be good. Let's change our destination to here. Let's get Nisbet out of here, and this one will actually watch launch. If there's any duplicants out here, even in their suits, they might get burned too, so let's be... I mean, you can be careful and just kick people out of the way when this does happen, but yeah, the temperature here should soar pretty high, and all the steam that comes out of here is at ridiculously high temperatures, like 1700 Celsius. So this is by far the hottest rocket, and this only is staying intact because I'm using only things that can resist that kind of heat. So about 3,000 for the wolframite, about 3,500 for the tungsten. Obsidian can handle up to 2,700, so yeah, if you didn't have any, if you had materials here that could really not withstand that, you're going to know about it. And yeah, instantly just turns our steam turbines on to full power, so... And surprisingly didn't melt this plastic. I'm shocked. I guess it's just because plastic is really hard to heat up, but that's pretty funny. Alright, let's get Nisbet out of the suit, and then for mining, you pretty much just have to let them sit there for a while. And the two things that are going to limit how much you can actually mine are going to be the diamond on the rocket, which you can track here, or the cargo space that you have remaining. I've always ran out of diamond first, so that's why I don't see a reason for the bigger cargo bays, but maybe I'm just missing something and there's something I don't know. So yeah, let me know if you have any ideas or thoughts about that. So we'll kind of let we'll kind of let Nisbet chill out there for a little while. I'll come back when we actually arrive so you can see the thing getting mined out, which is not that wild, but then we'll send Nisbet back and kind of complete this video with the whole round trip. So yeah, there you go. Alright, we've arrived at the asteroid field where we are mining out some wolframite and coal. We're going to get some errors here that says we can't store some of the resources, and that's because 30% of what we mine here is going to be molten tungsten and carbon dioxide, because we don't have the, I guess, add-ons on the rocket to hold these. It's just going to give you that kind of an error. I don't really care, because the only reason I'm coming out here is for some type of metal ore. The coal is just whatever, like it's just something we're going to mine on there in addition. Also, the artifact has been collected, so if you have an artifact, like cargo bay on your rocket, and you just visit something that has an artifact, it'll just automatically collect it. So on our way back, we'll stop here too to fill up the other artifact bay, or I don't remember exactly what that's called, but yeah. We'll fill that out by stopping here too, because there's going to be an artifact here as well. And yeah, we're basically just limited by how long our diamond is going to last, or when we run out of cargo capacity. But again, I feel like I always run out of diamond first, and I don't know if there's a way to get more on one mission. So yeah, so anyway, we'll just need to sit here for a little while this is getting mined out. And yeah, we'll get back to home here in just a bit, drop all this stuff off, and keep at it. Okay, cargo bays are full, so I guess if you're at something with a high enough concentration of solids, you might need a bigger cargo bay for this, so I guess so. Let's send this one back and get it to land on the platform that we expect it to, which is actually our colonization platform. And yeah, once we have that going back, just going to take a little while for it to get there, so just have to wait for that to happen, and then we'll show it being unloaded, and we'll call this video good. Alright, our mining rocket has re-arrived home, and it's just going to start emptying as soon as it lands. If you have the solid rocket port unloader, Nisbet's going to get a little bit burned. If you have the solid rocket port unloader, it's going to start unloading. It'll head down the rails that we set here, which, depending on what it is, this might not actually cool down as much as we want to by just going through this small little section of water. Let's see how much this goes down to. It's not great, but it's also not horrible. I think once the wolframite starts coming through, it'll be lower than this, so you can put the shutoffs here if you really want to. It's also a little bit exaggerated because the rocket just landed, so I'm not that worried about this. It's not a ton of material. Let's see what happens when the wolframite starts coming out. Alright, here it comes now. Yeah, the wolframite is a lot colder, so I don't know, between the two of them, they kind of balance it all out. Yeah, the wolframite's sitting at like 7C or something like that, so if you really want to, you could change this rail to have a thermosensor on it and not let stuff through a shutoff unless it cools down enough, but I don't know. Not really that big of a deal if you have some materials that are a little bit warm. I know we've done it before in other bases, but this is not that much material that's coming through, and most of it is metal, so most of it should cool down by the time it gets there. As for refueling this, let's do that now. All we need to do is remember we have this runoff area for any fuel that is not stored inside the tank. It just goes back over into these reservoirs. Let's close this door, which should restart the flow, which will start getting all of the fuel back in there. That was the excess that we had from earlier. So that'll just go in there. It'll go back into the tanks. Yep, up into our oxygen and our hydrogen tanks. And then we can turn this back off. Whoops, wrong one. We can, I guess, turn it back on to open the doors so that this stops emptying, so that we can turn our other switches on and start refueling this the right way. So refuel that, and there you go. So just going to refuel that and send it out to the next asteroid. There's a bunch of other places you could mine if you really wanted to. If you needed more algae, you could go to this one. There's usually stuff that's pretty close that has algae. All kinds of other stuff here if you want to play around with that too. And I'm probably not going to run more than like 3 or 4 missions just to grab some aluminum ore. And also from the previous asteroid, we brought back some algae. I'm saying this in the past tense like it's already happened, but by the time this video is out, that will have happened, and we will have more algae and more metal and all kinds of stuff that we've brought back from that other asteroid. But since these had to be filmed in kind of an awkward spot, that should be back. So I don't know how many more I'm going to do of these, but I did at least want to show it because someone was interested. By the way, I think we're starting to spill into our tanks again. Yeah, so let me turn both of these off. So yeah, that's a full loop of the hydrogen-based mining rocket. That'll be it for this video. There'll be another one tomorrow. I think we'll be landing on the gas asteroid, the natural gas Mu asteroid, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, we'll be there then. I'll see you back here really soon. Take care.